If you're a Jan Karon fan, you know that you can take her characters out of Mitford, but you can't take Mitford out of her characters, no matter where they roam. Well, the good news is they're back home.
20 years ago, Jan Karon left a successful career in advertising to follow her dream to become a writer. Since then, her heartwarming stories about the small North Carolina town of Mitford have sold more than 16 million copies.
God is all over these books. He leads, guides, directs, and composes these rich and colorful characters whom I love.
In her latest, Somewhere Safe with Somebody Good, the characters make their long-awaited return to Mitford.
Please welcome back to the 700 Club, Jan Karon, and welcome back to Mitford, Father Tim and company. Yes. Talk a little bit, Jan, about what made you have the characters leave and then bring them back again.
Well, I thought I would try something different, take my readers out of Mitford for a time, take them to Holly Springs, where Father Tim was born and grew up, and then to Ireland. But everybody pined for Mitford, so I thought about it and I said, you know, I'm pretty homesick for the place myself.
Talk a little bit about the fact that you say your books are God's books. What do you mean when you say that?
Well, when I start a book, Terry, I'm frightened out of my wits. It's a very scary thing, still. Yes, it never goes away. And I always commit a book to God. I always pray as I go. Yeah. Pray and write and pray. And because they are bathed in prayer, I think they go out and do things for people that I don't know how to do. A young couple told me, Ms. Karon, your book saved our marriage. Well, I don't know how to do that. Yeah. Obviously, God does. Mm-hmm. I hear such extraordinary things all the time.
How much do you have in your heart and mind when you start a new book?
Just a sense of the book. I don't have any outline. I never make an outline.
Really?
Carl Sandburg said, no surprise in the author, no surprise in the reader. So I love being surprised.
You were a very successful advertising executive, and out of that came this writing career. That's quite a quantum leap. How did you move from one to the other?
Well, I hate to say this, but, you know, advertising is pretty much fiction. No, just kidding. Sort of cut my teeth.
We probably agree with you on that.
It taught me a lot. It taught me discipline, for one thing. You must be pretty disciplined to sit down and go through a book for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. I was surprised as I was reading over your bio and just things that you had shared in the past that you really questioned yourself whether the characters that you felt God had given you would be of interest to anybody, especially Father Tim. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I thought I would have a small reading audience, you know, a narrow slice of the pie, a niche book. And as I wrote, though, and as people started to read my work, I realized how hungry the reading audience is just for a safe book, a clean book, a writer they could trust, not to confront them with something they didn't want to deal with. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you want that kind of read, it's out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you always had the gift to write? I mean, even when you were working in advertising, did you know you were a gifted writer?
Yes, I was a writer in advertising.
So that was your passion and your job.
I wrote my first novel at the age of 10. It was about 14 pages long.
That works for a 10-year-old. But your writing flows. There's a really easy, natural flow for someone who's reading it. I mean, it just sweeps you in before you realize how far you've gone.
Mm-hmm. I think the ear has a lot to do with it, Terry. I want to hear some kind of music. I think the title, for example, Somewhere Safe with Somebody Good, it has a flow to it. Mm-hmm. Even if you change it to say Somewhere Safe with Someone Good, it doesn't work.
Right. There is a rhythm
so I
to
use
all
my
of
ear
it.
a lot.
Yeah. And, you know, I was thinking as I read through it and looked at it for the first time, that it's also, I guess, the hope of everybody, isn't it?
It is.
To live in a Mitford, to be somewhere safe with somebody good. Yeah. Who's your favorite character? Is it Father Tim?
I love them all. I love them all unconditionally. And Miss Rose, I was very fond of her. Uncle Billy, I adored him. He had to pass. And that grieved me. And Miss Sadie's passing grieved me. And people say, well, you're the author. Why did you let them pass? And I said, well, I don't know. It was their time. But I love my characters.
That's very powerful. Talk a little bit about your own faith journey, because it so impacts the work that you do.
I cannot write a book without incorporating my faith. I don't even do it intentionally. It's just there. It's there to be shared. There's no way I cannot share it. And so I wanted to write, Terry, about a town, but I wanted to be able to see all those characters through one worldview, one pair of eyes, so that we had an unbroken kind of mindset that the reader could just get on board and go with that one thought process. And so a reverend, a minister, a preacher, a pastor he's the one everybody goes to. They tell their hearts to a good pastor. And that's how that came about.
Have you had a lot of reaction from people who knew that this was coming? Were they anticipating having the return to Mitford of all these characters that they've loved?
I have to say that the anticipation has been huge. And I would also like to say that we're next week, or #2 on the New York Times bestseller list, right up there with Jack Reacher.
Wow,
I mean, Lee
debuting
Child,
at
of course.
#2, we should say. Will there be another Mitford novel after this one?
I think so. It won't be Mitford as we have known it. We want to pass the torch to the next generation.
Yeah, Mitford with another spin, right? Well, they did a beautiful job on this. I mean, the cover is lovely. The story is fascinating, and you are pulled in by your wonderful writing. And I just want to say that Jan's novel is called Somewhere Safe with Somebody Good, and it's available wherever books are sold. If you'd like to hear more from Jan, we have a web exclusive interview with her. That's on our Facebook page. And if you'd like to watch that, just go to facebook.com/700club. Jan, what a treat to have you here. And we'll look forward to the next one, even as we're enjoying this one.
Thank you.
And congratulations on your successes. You're hitting the New York Times bestseller list. It's such a striking position for you.